Okay, we're recording. Okay, so let me share my screen. So welcome to Blind Drawing. It's a leadership presentation kind of about communication styles, hopefully in a fun way. So I just wanted to start out with like some questions first. So what are some different examples of communication styles, and do they have benefits and drawbacks? Feel free to like unmute and answer or type in the chat, whichever is more comfortable for you.
Well, there's like kind of just like the more authoritarian, like do this, do that kind of style versus like the how should we figure this out, like collaborative kind of style versus like a you tell me what to do kind of thing.
Perfect. Thank you. Anybody else have anything to add?
I think you can also have different levels of detail in the communication styles that you give. Like you can, if you can tell someone to do something and you can give them exactly sort of step by step all the little things that they should be doing and how it should look, or you can sort of just give them a general idea and then have them go with it. It sort of depends on both like what needs to get done and the like trust level and experience you have with that person.
Cool. Anybody else have anything to add, or else I'll go to the next question? Okay, how would you describe a good/effective communication style?
I'd say someone who can adapt their communication style to what the situation requires. So like Ada was saying, more detail or less detail, depending on the situation, someone might be more demanding, like, or like trying to authoritative rather than in some situations it might be more collaborative. So being able to adapt, I think, is effective.
That's a super good point.
I think also being able to articulate very clearly like what your intent is and what your goals for the communication is also super important.
Yeah, I really like that point. Yeah, I also like what Bobby said in the chat about being respectful, constructive, and clear. I think, yeah, constructive communication is super important because otherwise you won't really get anything done. Right, does anybody else have any other ways they would describe good communication?
I'm a big fan of making your communication available in multiple different styles. So like give the instructions verbally and then also send a follow-up email with everything written down because everybody's a different type of learner. So like different instructions for different people.
Yeah, I really like that too. Okay. So we're gonna get into our activity. So I'm gonna pair people up. It looks like we have exactly like the right amount of people to make it so no one is from the same chapter. And you're gonna take turns. I'm planning on having this happen for about 30 minutes. And I'm gonna put you in breakout rooms and then give you a picture that I'll send the file privately to one person and they'll have the picture, and then another person will be trying to draw it based on their description. When you're describing the picture, you can't be like, this is a house. So, because that would be kind of easy. So kind of like describing however you feel is best to get the point across to the other person. And then I'll come back through and give another picture and you'll swap for like the second 15 minutes. And then we'll come back and share our results and discuss what happened. And I'll kind of just cycle through the rooms to like jump in and see how people are doing and make sure everything's working.
Sorry, what do you mean we can't say this is a house? Like, what
Like
are we supposed to say? Like, this is a rectangle with a triangle on top?
Yeah. So you
Okay.
need to be like as descriptive as possible without like saying, yeah, you're drawing a house.
Could we say like you're drawing windows?
I think, yeah, you can do that.
Okay.
So gonna take me a moment to create some rooms.
Oh, and one more question. If they guess what they're drawing while you're describing it, should we just let them go ahead, or should they only draw what we describe?
They should draw what you describe. You're trying to see how close you can get to the picture I'm giving you. I don't expect like artistic excellence. I found like the easiest coloring both pages I could find just because I know I can't handle like drawing anything well.
Same though.
Yeah.
You didn't give us
Okay.
complex engineering documents. I mean, come on, Kat. We're college students.
No, that's no. Okay, I'm gonna open the breakout rooms and then I'll come through and drop a file for each group. While I'm like going through dropping files, you guys can like introduce yourselves, you know, chat. Okay. I've opened the rooms. Hi. So we're currently like still just in breakout rooms and I'll be pulling people in for like in like 5 minutes, but I could do the activity with you in a breakout room if you want really quick.
So what is the activity? Because I was at the service room.
So,
I don't
did you guys just decide to come back?
Well, I don't know if you had more stuff for us to do or you wanted us to come
You
back.
guys can just chill here.
Okay.
Sorry, I came with Denise. Would you want to do the activity with Denise really quick?
We can, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, so it's blind drawing. So someone's gonna describe to you a picture or you're gonna describe to them a picture and then like try and draw it well enough. I mean, not expecting like artistic greatness, but like a simple picture. Would you prefer to describe or draw?
I like drawing, so I think
Okay.
that could be fun.
I will, and then Christina or Sachi, who wants to describe?
I'm very go with the flow, so whatever you want.
Okay, I'll just
Yeah.
Sachi.
Okay. All right. Do you want us to just do it in here?
Yeah, that's probably just easier. There's like 3 minutes before I pull people back in.
Okay.
Good whenever you.
I'm gonna draw too, so we can compare our final.
There we go. Okay, so do you both have pens, paper, whatever ready? I think you both, okay, yeah. All right, so we're gonna start. Draw a giant triangle with like the point pointing downwards, and it should take up like half your page. So yeah, a giant triangle facing downwards. And then there's going to be another, so then there can be a circle kind of from the tops, like the top of the triangle, but it's not going to be, it's like a semicircle that's coming off of the top of the triangle. And it's also going to be pretty big. And then kind of to bisect the middle of that circle. So like if we're looking from like separating the top of the circle from the bottom of the circle, you're gonna draw kind of like a wavy line. It can be as like wavy and drippy as you want. Like it's just not a straight line to kind of cut the circle in half.
Wait, I thought you said it was a semicircle.
It's a semicircle, just like section out a portion of the top that's going to be separated by this wavy line. It doesn't really matter how much of it, just like a decent like third, maybe third to half. And you're just going to draw like a really, really wavy line. And then on that portion that you like on the top portion, on the top of the wavy line, that part of the circle, you're going to draw just like a bunch of like little rectangles all over the place. Doesn't matter where, they just need to be like kind of small. And they can like be like in different, like facing different directions. They should be like kind of thin and long, but not like super long. Just they're going to be like longer than they are wide. And they can like face whatever direction you want. It's kind of just like a little bit randomized. There's like 9 of them. All right, and then on that, so on the very, very top of the circle, you're going to draw a smaller complete circle. So not a semicircle, a complete circle, just like a much, much smaller, like, I don't know, like a 1/8 the size of the original circle. It's just going to be a complete circle at the top. And then there's going to be like a little curved line coming off of the small circle. Just like, it's like a really, like it's the curved line is like the amount, like the same height as the smaller circle, but it's just going to be coming off the top. And it's going to like start a little bit straight. It's like a candy cane line.
I'm warning you about to close the breakout rooms.
Okay. And then on at risk of losing time, I'm gonna move on to the next part, which is just go back to your triangle and kind of draw a broad like lattice pattern on it. So like checkered pattern on the triangle with the lines kind of facing, like the lines run parallel and perpendicular to the triangle. All right, I think that's all I got.
So now do we show you what we drew?
Mm-hmm. I can't quite see it. All right, yeah, I think you guys both got it. You guys both got the ice cream cone. Here is the link if you want to see the original. It's just gonna go to everybody.
Nice. Good stuff, good stuff.
Welcome back, everybody. Before I like start sharing screen with like some questions to wrap things up, do people want to share like what they drew, just so we can, and like their opinion on how it like turned out?
Sure. Our first one was an ice cream cone. So this is, and Kellen described and I drew, so this is what ours ended up looking like.
Looks very nice. Very impressed.
Okay, I drew a cute little cactus, but I still think I did it wrong. We're gonna turn this around. Oh, whoops. We're gonna turn this around. There we go.
I
Okay,
think it looks
compared to
cute.
how we started, y'all, that actually turned out really, really well. I'm not upset.
I don't care what the original photo looked like. There was nothing wrong with that cactus.
I have to
Yeah,
say,
so
like,
cute.
knowing, so for Bobby and I, like, I figured out pretty quickly what Bobby was telling me to draw, like the sort of general idea. I was like, oh, it's an insect. I got this. Okay, cool. And so I had sort of a general idea. With with him and I think I started on like the extraneous details first, like the side stuff. So he had no idea what we were going for, and that made it way harder to like get an overall deal. I think that you really want to start with like core attributes. So our house ended up a bizarre corn silo that was far too narrow.
Okay, Bergen and I had the same problem because when I drew, I had a snowman, and like the first thing we talked about was the top hat, and I was like, oh, is it a Lincoln top hat or a snowman top hat? And then like knowing it was a snowman was very easy from there on out. But then I was describing the cactus, and I did not describe it well. It was very convoluted. And
Which she said pot, and I was thinking like, oh, cooking pot.
And then I was like, I really meant like a greenery pot, but we can work with this. It'll be fine.
We're doing great.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't get my rights and my lefts right. So I like told Christina to draw this like circle and then draw something on the right of it when I meant the left. And then I like had her do other things and then realized, wait, did I say right or left when I told you what to draw? And she was like, you definitely said right. I'm like, oh no.
Still turned out pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good.
I think our eyes are somehow less scary than the original, but it is what it is.
Wait, I want to see the picture. I didn't see the picture. Wait. What?
Bobby and I use
Okay.
the life hack of, and like the STEM hack of knowing it's referring to everything as vertically symmetrical and then placing things by percentages around the page, which was great for when he was describing to me. I couldn't do it or shit. And it was pro strats for the most part, because just knowing that like things had to match sort of on sides of the page was very helpful.
Mm.
We tried to use math terms a couple times. It didn't end well.
Monica, you
Monica-
just show your snowman.
I am. I'm
Monica?
about to, this is my murderous snowman. Please note, Bergen had to explain an isosceles triangle for me.
That is the sharpest carrot I've ever seen.
Monica, when has using math terms ever gone well for you? Just putting that out there.
Okay, she didn't know that. She didn't know she was
I
gonna have
need
to
muting-
explain
I
an
need muting
isosceles
power.
triangle.
I knew you will mute
Okay.
it again.
Okay, we're gonna move on to like a couple last wrap up questions. I think you guys answered. I had questions about like what challenges you faced and how you adjusted. I feel like you guys pretty much answered that by describing your pictures. Did you have any biases when you were trying to figure out what your partner was describing or while you were describing? And do you think it impacted what you drew?
I don't know about biases, but I think like one of the things that we overlooked when describing things was how big things were in comparison to others. Like you would say, oh, you're gonna draw like you're gonna draw 3 circles. Well, they can draw circles that are this big, or they can draw circles that are like huge. So I think like we really overlooked sizes. Like I actually restarted my image. I started with this tiny little pot, but obviously I can't draw a cactus in that tiny little pot. So I had to restart.
I think once you have the bias of knowing what the object is, it becomes infinitely easier. Like once you have like the general
Oh,
idea,
yeah.
it just is like, oh, cool. I'm drawing a bug. Cool. I know the things like oval should be this big and wings should be this big. But like if you're like, cool, I don't know what to do where, then it's a lot harder. I think
in terms-
also in some ways, if I'd had doing this on the computer was also hard, because like if I just had like a piece of paper in front of me, I could have been like, oh yeah, this thing is 2 inches wide or 3 inches wide. But the fact that like on my screen, I'm looking at a picture of something that's not scaled to a piece of paper makes it hard, because then it's like, you know, they're not drawing on the same thing that I'm looking at. My screen is scaled differently. It's a whole mess.
I think in terms of like personal biases, I had made the mistake of beforehand thinking about, oh yeah, I've written procedures so many times because that's what I do as a college, like my majors and stuff. And so we had talked about it, and I was like, oh god, now I have to do this really well. And I definitely like psyched myself out beforehand. So in terms of like personal biases, yeah.
Okay, the next question I had was, what did you learn about communication from this process? And did anything about it surprise you? And then kind of, we have like 2 minutes left. So how would you change your communication to do better next time? If you felt you needed to do better.
I think definitely like translating things in terms of like how the other person is seeing like the problem. Like we're seeing this picture on like a computer screen, and a lot of people are probably working with a sheet of paper. So instead of saying like the top left, maybe being like, oh, okay, like an inch from each margin or something like that. Like just those tiny little adjustments can like definitely make things a lot easier to avoid having those like the person on the receiving end have to make those like translating steps that just can cause a bigger headache than need be.
I found that I'm very much reliant on my hands to help me communicate and visualize stuff. So I definitely need to work on articulation and like being more clear about really anything, because I find myself rambling or like not knowing what to do with my hands.
I think one thing that probably surprised me a little bit was I immediately, as soon as I saw like the picture I had to describe, came up with a plan in my head. Wasn't a great plan, as we found out, but it was a plan. And I knew like I wanted to describe this thing first, and then we're gonna go move to this thing. And I think that can really apply to things like leading exec meetings or leading chapter meetings and things like that, where it's like, that's why we have agendas. Otherwise, I'd be even more all over the place than I already am. So just in my, like, as soon as just tackling things with a plan, even if you don't actively think that you have a plan.
Super good point. Does anybody have any last comments? Okay, well, if not, I hope you enjoyed this activity. I seemed fun when I popped into the breakout rooms, and so I hope it was helpful to also help you like learn about your communication style and how you communicate with others better. So it was really nice to meet all of you, and I hope you have a wonderful time with the rest of sectionals.
Thank you so much for hosting. This is
Yeah.
very engaging.
Well, thank
Thank
you.
you.
You're rad, Kat. Good job.